one veteran Indian foreign hand who has very explicitly come out in the open to criticize and have a say about what US Deputy National Security Advisor Daleep Singh said was the highly respected Syed Akbaruddin. He's was India's ambassador to the United Nations, a tenure during which he achieved a great deal for the country. He's currently Dean of the Kautilya School for Public Policy in Hyderabad. Ambassador Akbaruddin, a real pleasure to have you. Good to see you here on television once again after a while. I just want to quote your tweet first, Ambassador, for the benefit of all our viewers. In response to what Deputy NSA Daleep Singh said, Syed Akbaruddin has said, "So this is our friend. This is not the language of diplomacy. This is the language of coercion. Somebody tell this young man that punitive unilateral economic measures are a breach of customary international law." Ambassador, explain.
First of all, Shiv, thank you very much for providing me an opportunity to engage with you and through you to your large audience. That said, the world is not at peace. In fact, it's going to pieces. And in such situations, it's normal for everybody to try and maximize their positions.
Yeah.
So we have a military conflict and hostilities going on in Ukraine, but we also have weaponization of a different sort being launched, something very unprecedented. A G20 country is being sanctioned in an unprecedented manner. Obviously, these have repercussions because in an interdependent world, anything that happens to one large economy has repercussions elsewhere. It's not the first time that sanctions have been used as a tool, but let me tell you, they have no sanctity in international law. These are, to use a diplomatic phrase, unilateral coercive economic measures. Sure, they are used by states in the pursuit of their interests, and that's what the US is doing, and some European states are doing. This is their call, and they're doing it. As far as bystanders like India are concerned, we are bystanders, but are affected by it. So it's normal to have these engagements, and it was nice of the United States to send an envoy to try and explain to us. We've been through this before, when such measures of a limited nature were imposed on Iran. We've seen this when they were imposed on Venezuela. But this one being broader, obviously the repercussions are larger. Now, usually these conversations are held in quiet spaces, and friends are explained about the implications. What we saw was a display of rather crude public diplomacy of a nature that is not expected from a friendly country like US, trying to explain to us, as you yourself said, our ties with the US are on the upswing. In every arena, there is a trajectory of greater engagement. And certainly the remarks made by the US Deputy Secretary, National Security Advisor, were not in keeping with diplomatic traditions or a means of engagement between two friends. I therefore had no choice but to explain it to the young man that diplomacy requires a little bit of nuance. It requires a little bit of sophistication, and public diplomacy in a country like India needs much more sophistication than what was expressed by him yesterday.
And Ambassador, I'm sure your tweet has been brought to the attention of Daleep Singh. My follow-up question to that would be, sir, do you think these remarks that he made, like you said, this was pretty, crude is the word that you used. Do you think it was an aberration, or do you think it's representative of the sentiment being felt in the United States? I'm not going to ask whether this affects the relationship, because you and I both know that the relationship is too deep and too broad, for one comment to affect things by a deputy NSA. But do you think it's representative of something more serious being felt in the Biden administration, sir?
Certainly, the US is feeling deeply about the situation in Ukraine. And in such situations, it's normal for people to react, overreact. That said, it's not normal for diplomats to do this when you're conveying messages to your interlocutors and to a country of 1 billion plus. And I certainly hope that this is not reflective of the traditions of US diplomacy, where we have engaged in common pursuits on a whole host of things. So if you would call it an aberration, perhaps that is so. It certainly is not either in keeping with the trajectory of our relations or the history of our relations.
What would you say to the many commentators who've been saying, one section believes that a lot of condescending things have been said about India's, stance on the Ukraine issue, the abstentions, the neutrality. Some people have called it almost white privilege in terms of some of the comments being made about India's stance. Another section, Ambassador, believes that this is India's very own unique sort of path in terms of forging its own foreign policy steps in a in a situation like you rightly described, has many different angles and is constantly dynamic. How would you respond to those people who criticize India's moves and India's stance, sir?
So I think those who criticize India are not looking at either the big picture or the granular details. So let's look at the big picture. The big picture is that not once in 9 votes did India vote in congruence with Russia. 9 votes. There were many countries who voted in congruence. For example, our neighbor China. It voted 4 times with Russia. India never voted once. So look at that. That's the big picture. We have taken a stance which is different. Now look at the granular details. We were among those countries who have repeatedly emphasized on territorial integrity and sovereignty, whose territorial integrity is being undermined. At this stage, there is only one reference, one clear indication. So without saying so, in many ways, we have pointed out that we are not happy with the situation that we are landed in. We have not condemned Russia. We have clearly also said behind closed doors, as well as in public statements, like I mentioned one, I could give you another one. We have been providing humanitarian assistance. Nobody provides humanitarian assistance unless there is empathy. So we also said we regret the outbreak of hostilities. So we all know how the hostilities started. So in a number of ways, we have indicated in our own manner that this is not what we are comfortable with. Yes, it is not our tradition to condemn, because we feel that condemning is not a solution to the issue. Ultimately, only diplomacy and dialogue will solve this issue. Condemnation will have to be walked back, because you will have to negotiate with the interlocutors.
Correct.
And we would like to be part of the solution, but not add to the problems that exist. Because we've seen the UN resolution and the General Assembly, it garnered lots of vote, but in substantive terms, it's not meant anything.
Yeah. One final question to you, sir, and like you've rightly pointed out, there has been a lot of attention that has been paid to India, India's role. India is an old friend of Russia. India that has a great degree of, strategic leverage as far as Putin is concerned. All of those things. I'm sure they sound much more simplistic on the outside than they do in the much more granular and detailed world of actual diplomacy. But could you give us your assessment as a final answer from you, Ambassador, of what India's role could possibly be? Because you're right. When Minister Lavrov met with our External Affairs Minister as well as the Prime Minister today, both times the message from India has been persistent. We are not for war. There needs to be a cessation of hostilities. These things have to end through dialogue and diplomacy. And India is willing to play any role necessary to bring those operations to an end. Is there a role you see for India, sir?
So these are complex situations, and individual states can only play a limited role. Given the gravity of this complex evolving issue and escalating crisis, our role is to nudge our partners And we have communication channels open with both of them to nudge through those communication channels to try and address these issues in a serious manner, to try and resolve them. It is not our tradition to jump in and say we would play an effective role. That's not what India is about. India is about working quietly behind the scenes, trying to assist our colleagues and friends and nudge them into a direct dialogue, which will perhaps be the only way to resolve these difficult issues.
Ambassador Syed Akbaruddin, it's always a pleasure. Good to have you with us. We very much value your time and your word on this. You know, you've been India's ambassador to the United Nations, you know, when you've been very much part of that foreign policy tightrope at a very, very challenging time. So our viewers take your words very seriously. So I thank you very much for being with us and giving us your time. Thank you. That was Ambassador Syed Akbaruddin.
Thank you.